Okay. Hey, Internet. Thank you for watching Hudgens Talks. My name is Kate Driscoll. I'm the Public Programs Manager for the Hudgens Center for Art and Learning. And I'm talking today with Chelsea Turbin. Hey, Chelsea.
Oh, hi, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you again for taking the time to do this. This is very kind of you.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So, will you tell people a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
I'm a musical theater performer and human being. I'm from Ormond Beach, Florida, originally, and grew up here. Pretty much started singing and dancing as soon as I could speak, and started off doing children's theater. Worked here at a local equity theater while I was in high school. It was called Seaside Music Theater, RIP, unfortunately. Did that for a little bit and then went to Boston Conservatory for college, majored in musical theater. And then I hopped on American Idiot on the road, and that was the first big thing. And when that was done, I moved to New York City, and I've been living there since 2014. Ironically, though, most of the shows I have booked since I've lived in New York City have been in Florida. So I would kind of come back every year, work at a few different theaters here, Maltz Jupiter and Riverside Theater in Vero Beach. And for the past, well, can I say for the past year? I'll say up until the shutdown, I was doing Little Shop of Horrors off Broadway,
Oh, very
understudying,
cool.
understudying Audrey, which has been the dream, a dream, but definitely the dream.
Oh my gosh. Oh, well, yeah, that is, yeah.
Yeah,
If
it's
I were a musical theater performer, that would be my dream. I know I'm not a musical theater performer, and that would be my dream.
yeah, it's been it. I don't want to say it was because I know it will be again, but it's just a dream scenario. The people, the show itself, which is one of my favorite shows. Um, yeah, it's a little bit about me, in addition to an upbringing of sports and surfing and other theater things.
So, how has this year looked for you and affecting, your job?
Everything has been completely turned on its head.
Mhm.
Um, I feel like I've been telling people it's kind of been the best of times and worst of times.
Mhm.
Honestly, I've missed my job like crazy, and New York as we know it. I was lucky enough to be able to come down to my house in Florida in March. So I haven't been there since March, but I have a lot of friends that have stayed in the city. And with all the businesses closing and the shows closing, it's just a completely different scene. And I don't think we know what we're going to come back to, but
Mhm.
everybody's super hopeful. But as far as things that have changed, it's just mostly, and I think other people would say it's just felt like a pause, a big pause. Um, but what's been super inspiring has been like the amount of friends that I've had that have pivoted so gracefully and have started really digging into other crafts that they like to do, whether it be teaching voice lessons or selling candles or dog sitting, just whatever it is that they're digging into. But it's all different. It's all very, very different. Not waking up and looking at what auditions are happening, going weeks and months without talking to my agent has been different. It's all been very different.
So you were saying earlier it's been like the best of times, the worst of times. What would you say has been sort of that best of times element?
But on a personal note, what I've found to be the silver lining is like simply it's been a really long time since I have spent the fall season in Florida. Doing winter breaks and summer breaks and spring breaks and things like that. From the time I left home, I haven't been here in a long time. I've gotten to reconnect with a lot of friends that I haven't seen in a really long time. I'm also here with my boyfriend, so that has been a lot of not being alone in an apartment. It has been something that I have been so grateful for, because seeing friends that have been going through that and seeing just how hard it is to stay motivated and to stay
Mhm.
happy on a daily basis. I have found happiness without really having to put much effort into that. And I've just felt really lucky about that. So it's being home and seeing friends and all the things that I can't do, and also spending time singing for myself again has been something that honestly I'd like to say I was doing before the shutdown, but I wasn't as much. And I found that since the shutdown happened, I've been singing in the shower more and just singing on my own and kind of just rediscovering what it is that I want to do and who I am as an artist.
Oh, see, that is really nice to hear.
Yeah.
And it's funny you say that because I feel like all the different artists I've talked to, you know, their different art forms, I feel like I've heard a lot of people saying that, having that same sentiment of it's given them freedom to really reconnect to why they first started, or reevaluate if the reason that they're doing it now is different from the reason.
Yeah, definitely. Being home especially helps with that. I mean, I'm in my childhood home, which if I were to turn this camera around, it's just a wall of playbills and posters and scripts and books and things that I just haven't picked up since I left home. And it's been really nice to remember, like, oh yeah, I really, really, really like doing this, and I really wanted to do it for a really long time. So now that, now that we can't so much, I'm just like chomping at the bit to get back to the city and delve into whatever it is we're coming back to.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So how did you get into this? Like, what was the dream?
Honestly, I feel like it kind of found me. I know that sounds so cheesy, but I mean, like, we were watching home videos the other night. I've been singing since before I was 2. Just my mom would always sing to me, and so singing and dancing were kind of my first language before I could even really communicate through talking. It was Chelsea's going crazy on the dance floor and different songs, and I was a big old show off, know it all. Some would probably say I still am, but I just wanted to sing for everybody in my class. And my first grade teacher, Miss Lapointe, recommended that my mom put me in a local children's theater called Children's Musical Theater Workshop. And I was really lucky that I grew up in a time when everybody else in my town seemed to be doing the same thing. So there was a huge group of us. I think at one point we did 42nd Street with 70 kids under the age of 18.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was real big. So it kind of, I don't feel so much that I pursued it as much as it was just a natural part of my life. And I was lucky enough to be in a town that had such a great children's theater. And then, like I said before, there was an equity theater in my hometown called Seaside Music Theater, which was a really, really big Southeast theater. And I first started working there when we did Annie in 2003, and they continued to hire me for their winter and summer shows. So getting to work alongside Broadway performers, it all just kind of like happened naturally. It was what I did, it was what I was best at, it was what I loved to do, and little by little it just went from children's theater to professional theater with a theater program in my high school. So it just kept on going. So but I also don't want to leave out that I was also really lucky to have a mom who was not so much a stage mom as she would have been the world's perfect manager. If I didn't want to do something, it wasn't even a question, but she would have just a plethora of research and opportunities, and here's the best headshot guy, here's the best person. I was on these message boards, and she was uploading me to YouTube when YouTube was brand new, no one had ever heard of it.
Shoot out of the curve.
Yeah, she really, like, she was always going to bat for me. So I'm not sure that I don't think I would be as far as I am if it weren't for my mom doing the research that she did and being so encouraging and never forcing me to do it, because I think if it had been something where if it didn't feel like it was my passion, I don't know that I would have wanted to pursue it as much. But yeah,
Right.
Mama helped definitely with the motivation and always like keeping an eye out on those Broadway World message boards, and like my mom was the first person that found out about the Thespian Festival, which was a really big part of my life in high school, the International Thespian Festival, and specifically the Florida Thespian Festival, which was the big one in the country.
That's amazing. Well, and it's so nice to hear about people whose parents, because I feel like through working in the arts and through doing these sort of Hudgens talks, I've met so many people who are saying that overcoming their parents' expectations was a part of was one of the challenges that they faced. So it is really, it's always nice hearing about people whose parents were giving them a support system for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I could, if I had a kid in the arts and I could do it like my mom did, I mean, that would just be best case scenario. I think it's always like, if the idea of saying that she was a theater mom without that stigma of her being a Mama Rose is something that she was just so important to everything.
Can your mom like hear you or something? Is that
right? No, she's not here anymore. She's actually working right now, so she'll be watching this later. So I'm sure I'll get the text later.
Yeah, get some brownie points.
Right? Yeah. No, she's doing health insurance right now, even though I would say be an agent, be a manager. She's good at it.
So what were things that were what do you think is unexpected about your profession? Like when, are there assumptions about what you do if people say, oh my gosh, you're a performer?
Oh, totally. I mean, I feel like half the time when I tell people what I do, I have to say Broadway stuff, because if I say I'm a performer or I'm a singer or dancer, they say, oh, have you done American Idol, or have you, I just feel like, well, maybe now it's a little bit different. I feel like movie musicals are making such a comeback, and there's things, I mean, I just feel like musicals are such a thing now. You've got The Masked Singer and The Voice and American Idol. So it is a little different, but what would you say the most surprising thing or the most challenging thing?
Either.
Most surprising would be just how much auditioning is the job.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say that. Someone once said to me that auditioning is the job and performing is the bonus, because performing is what we do and it's what we love and it's what we pour all of our training into. Not to say that we also don't spend lots of time in audition workshops and stuff like that, but I just kind of feel like just how much time is spent waking up, doing your research about shows and the creatives behind those shows, and just how early you have to get up in the morning. I was fortunate that I moved to the city with an equity card, which is the professional actors union. But if you don't have an equity card and you're just going to the city and you're waking up at 4 a.m., you're waiting just to be told that you're not even getting seen at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon. And that's a nonstop thing, no matter if you're a Tony Award winning actor. I mean, auditioning is the job. And that was definitely surprising. To expect it, but just how much it is the constant in your life was very surprising for me.
Do you think, is this ever a thing where, I'm not asking you to name names or anything, but do you ever feel like, man, that person is so good at auditioning, but I know I'm better at, I would be better at actually performing? Like, is that a thing at all?
That's a funny thing too, because it depends on the kind of audition. You're never gonna, I'll say rarely going to find yourself in a situation where you are seeing other people sing and act at an audition, but a dance call is an entirely different world. I mean, that is the world where you're looking at every single person you're auditioning against. You are seeing exactly who is getting kept, exactly who is going home. But the good thing is when audition season is in full swing, you're like running up and down stairs, going to different auditions anyway. But yeah, you'll run into those situations. I find that me personally, I find that sometimes I'll see a girl who looks so much more the part, and the hair is on point and the makeup's on point and the outfit's on point, and then she does something and I remind myself, oh, you've got this. You're okay. You can do this. You might be better suited for this role.
Like she comes, like she had already been to the hair and makeup department for the role, and you're like, I can do it.
right, I can do the role. But that's what you gotta, it's that impossible feeling of going into a room and going, how do I show you that I can do this?
Um,
I find that the better option, and what most people will tell you, is you can't try to be, and I think it's a life thing too. You can't be what someone wants you to be. All you can do is be who you are and what you bring, and if it's the right fit, it'll be the right fit, because no matter what I do, I'm not going to be somebody else.
mm,
And sometimes that's just so out of your grasp, but to really realize it is such a freeing thing. I think it took me like a year or two before I fully realized you can only bring what you bring to the table.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds, I feel like that's the easiest and hardest advice to follow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Except that the only person that's you is you. You can't be anybody
Yeah.
else. And just like,
Be yourself. Be yourself.
yeah, right. I've been hearing it since I was 6 years old, and I'm still, thinking like, oh yeah, okay, I'm
I
best
think that's
being
one of
me.
the hardest things for, I mean, not for all performers, but maybe childhood performers, I'm not sure. I identify myself with a performer sometimes more than I identify myself with my own personality. So sometimes the idea of going in for an audition is an impossible feeling, because you want to show them that you can do I'll be anything you want, I'll do anything you want. But what they really want to see is who you are. And realizing that is such an incredibly powerful thing, to realize that they want to see what you bring to
Mhm.
the project, to the experience.
So that being said, if we're talking about advice, what advice would you give to like a young person, or not even just a young person, but just someone who was starting to pursue that avenue?
I'll say, as far as auditioning goes, I worked with brilliant, brilliant actor Michael Kostroff, who has been in movies and film. And he runs an amazing audition seminar, and he explains the way of auditioning as saying, it's an opportunity for you to perform, and you love performing. So every time you get something that you can bring into a room, instead of worrying about making sure that it is correct or exactly what it is that you want someone to be seeing, if you just approach it from the perspective of, I get to sing this song, I get to say these lines, and I have an audience, because an audience is not a granted thing in a performer's life. So to treat every audition like it's your own private performance is, although easier said than done, um, I'd say the best advice I could give somebody as far as auditioning goes. And I know it seems so cliche, but just approaching it like a performance
Mhm.
is, and just realizing that everybody on the other side of the table is desperate for you to succeed, and all they want to do is see what you bring. And I know I keep saying that, but at least for me, it was a very hard thing to overcome, the idea of getting it right or not messing something up, when art is such a malleable thing, and
Mhm.
it's hard to get wrong if you don't think you're doing anything wrong. You know what I mean?
Oh, though that is like a very freeing bit of advice. Like, do you think you're doing it wrong? Well, then,
Yeah,
but
what's the old quote? Like, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
yeah, yeah, that's great advice. But I know you're right. I feel like the older I get, the more I think about how things that are cliches, I'll have like a brain blast. I'm like, wow, life really is what you make it.
I
And then,
should live, laugh, and love.
yeah,
We should.
it is 5 o'clock somewhere. I don't think if that one is.
Yeah.
Um, so what are things like skills people need to build outside of the actual craft? What do you think are skills that people should be working on?
Outside of the craft, I would say, uh, really get to know what your, I don't want to say financial goals are, but I'll say it is really important for artists. And I think in a world where we'll have a BFA program, and then just a little teensy eensy bit of like, here's how taxes work, and here's what you should do as an artist, and here's how you should itemize, and here's how, I would say stuff like that is incredibly important, because that is the kind of stuff that once you get to the city is going to knock you flat and take away from what it is that you're there to do. It is extremely hard to worry about your rent check and balance auditions and make it to dance classes and keep that survival job. So I'd say really focus on what it is. Unless you are in an incredibly fortunate position to not need a survival job, most of us do. And I'd say finding something that is not going to destroy your soul is very important. I made the mistake at one point. I won't say mistake because I really enjoyed the job, but working at a flexible cocktail lounge, who you might be working until 4 a.m, means that I'm not going to want to get up and go do those auditions the next day. And yeah, I'd say just really figuring out what it is that you would like to do outside of your audition schedule, just so that can be nice and stable, so you can put all of your energy where it needs to be when it needs to be there.
That's really good advice. And yeah, and across art forms, I think that's good advice until you find your foothold in your goal career.
Yeah, and it really never stops. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, a Broadway show closes and it's closed, and unless you're immediately going into the next gig, everybody goes back to the survival job or the side gig or your Etsy store or whatever it is. So as long as you can find out, I mean, we're all doing this because we're all artists because it makes us happy and it's what we're good at. So as long as you can and like keep that afloat, especially in a city as hard as New York City or Chicago or LA or wherever it is that you're choosing to live, it's extremely competitive. And I think the less stress you have on yourself frees you to be the best artist that you can be.
No, that's actually great advice. And very, very actionable, like practical advice too, which I think is very helpful for people. I mean, I think all advice is good advice, but I love hearing specific things like that, like have a plan, look at this. I think that's really helpful, or at least to people like me.
Do what I did, kid.
I'm like, no, to people like me, I'm like, I do not read between the lines. Tell me exactly what you mean.
Yes. Prepare, save.
Oh, you should save your money.
Yes, save.
That's what I've been missing.
Yes. I know that Thai food seems tempting. Just scramble some eggs. Get to that audition tomorrow.
Okay, so scrambled eggs, financial plan, have the backup job that doesn't suck. Do you feel like there are certain survival jobs that lend themselves to performing more than others? Like, is a 9 to 5 conducive, or is that one of those things where you're like, oh, you're not gonna have a good time making it to audition?
Well, I really think it depends on who you are as a person. I think I found a lot of I don't want to say like type A and type B, but a lot of my type A friends really, for people who want to feel very in control of what they're doing, I have seen friends find a lot of success. Like my friend Lori started a company where she was hiring her friends to do sampling for natural food brands. And like, that was something I did for a while. My survival job was working for different liquor companies and doing we call them activations, like parties and events and things like that, and tastings. But certain people, I've seen them take things into their own hands. There's a thing called the Broadway Babysitters Club, or maybe not club, but Broadway Babysitters, and it's people babysitting for people who are in Broadway shows and can't watch their kids during the day. So I've seen people create their own jobs, things that work for them. And then I'd say otherwise you see lots of serving, lots of bartending, lots of dog walking, lots of voice lessons, lots of nannying, lots and lots of nannying, anything that's flexible, honestly. But I would say from my experience, serving and bartending and cocktail serving, that's all fine and it earns a lot of money quickly. But as long as it's not eating into your soul and your daytime and your energy levels, that's where you want to be. I think something that keeps you happy but doesn't detract from your energy and your focus.
So we have some questions for you in the Facebook live chat.
Yay.
Ashley Lynch, hey Ashley, he's awesome, he always watches.
Hi.
He wants to know, what is your favorite shower singing song?
Favorite? Either something punk. I'm super in. I'm born in '90s baby, but I love punk rock stuff. And I did before Green Day. That or really big brassy classic shit like Judy and Barbara, just anything where I can like just wail in the shower. That's yeah, my man. Anything else? I don't know. Also, Always True to You, which was a big song of mine from high school. We did Kiss Me Kate when I was in high school. And I think that was the first song that I really like belted in front of an audience. So that's always like a sweet spot for me.
And then Stephanie Lloyd was just wanting to come in and say Florida thespians for life.
For life, Steph. Stephanie Lloyd. Stephanie is one of my very best friends. She was the one who hooked me up with this. Yeah, we used to do thespians together.
Well, I'm a big fan of Stephanie, as are I think everyone that meets her.
Yeah, everybody loves Stephanie.
Oh yeah. Stephanie is daring you to sing us Always True to You.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh, that's really tough because you gotta back down from a dare.
From Ohio, Mr. Thorne calls me up from night till morn. Mr. Thorne once cornered corn, and that ain't hay. But I'm always true to you, Steffi, in my fashion. Yes, I'm always true to you, Stephanie, in my way.
Oh, very nice. Oh my gosh. Stephanie immediately,
What are the lyrics? There they are.
Stephanie immediately commented that she was trolling, but I left that part out because I just wanted to see if you'd do it.
I'll take it. I'll take the dares.
Oh, you're getting quite the applause. So sort of circling back around to what we were first talking about, we've been kind of talking about how the pandemic had changed your life up. Have there been things that you've noticed people in your industry doing in the pandemic, or as like an alternative, or?
Yes, creating. Like I said, I'd like to say that I've done more creating in this time, but I've been doing a little bit of reflection and self-preservation. But to see my friends, I mean, like so many, and especially my Black friends, are creating so much in this time, especially with Black Lives Matter coming to the forefront again, which I mean, it's been there, but seeing people creating, it's almost like there's a new Harlem Renaissance happening. There's a lot of support from artists for other artists. A lot of people are getting really crafty, like I said, which I love. I've seen people, I have friends opening Etsy shops that are doing knitting and doing candle making and making sexy male pinup pillows and things like that. And it's just been I feel like before everything went down, you kind of heard a lot of the same griping about things feeling so out of our hands and things feeling so out of control and things not being like they used to be and things being harder. And with, producers getting more producery and actors getting less and less time to be seen and the city being flooded. And I just feel like this pause has given people the opportunity to focus on what it is that they love about this. And it's just been so incredible to see friends, and not only friends, creating, but friends supporting friends, and friends really lifting people up and just creating opportunity where there isn't any right now.
Mm-hmm. Well, on that note, we are gonna say goodbye to Chelsea. Thank you again so much for doing this. It's just so much fun. Well, it's just fun getting to talk to you. I can see
lovely.
I can see why Stephanie is such a fan.
I pay
her. Okay. Well, good. Hey, friends supporting friends.
Exactly.
All right. Bye, Facebook. Thank you guys so much for watching.
Bye, Facebook.